Okay guys, so after watching this movie, I asked myself, after the last 4 years of some crappy, horrible, terrible horror movies that have come out, could 2013 be the year of redemption for all things horror movies? It just might be. Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another movie review. Guys, in this video I will be reviewing the newest horror movie that is about to close out the summer movie season, You're Next. Now guys, unfortunately, as I said, the summer movie season is about to end. I had a real fun time this summer watching a whole bunch of fun movies. I hope you guys did too, but unfortunately it's about to come to a close. The good thing to look forward to is that we'll always have one next year. But anyway guys, a little quick fact that I have actually about this movie. You're Next was actually not made in early 2013 or late last year in 2012. This movie was made about 2 years ago. That's when this movie first premiered at a film festival. 2 years ago, back in 2011. It could have even been made back in late 2010 for all I know. But anyway, Your Next first premiered at the 2011 Toronto International Film Festival, and it hasn't had a wide theater release until now. It premiered at several other film festivals, but that was it. And I still gotta look that up and find out why that is. Why this movie's just coming out now after all these years. But anyway, so yeah, that was something that intrigued me, I guess. And another thing that intrigued me with this movie was that this movie had so many good reviews. Going into this movie, the score on Rotten Tomatoes for like the longest time had been like a 90%. That's like unheard of for a new horror film to come out. Now it's down to about 80, which is probably where it's going to stay, which is still perfect, if you ask me, for a new horror film. And that was really impressing me with this film. And as I said in the intro, guys, like you guys know, you guys would agree with me, the last 3 to 4 years have been crap for horror movies. The horror movies that have come out just sucked, okay? And we had The Conjuring, which came out earlier this year, which was great, and I was looking forward to this. So how is Your Next? Is Your Next proof that this could just be the year where the horror movies start to be really good again? Yes, I think Your Next is definitely an example of that, because I really enjoyed this movie. Your Next is a pretty fun horror film that I actually really enjoyed, and it was actually a good horror movie, finally, thank God. Alright guys, so You're Next. I think I'm overdoing it. Was the movie perfect? Was it flawless? No. There were problems with this movie, as there are with every other horror movie, but it was actually a really good horror movie, which is why I gotta give this movie credit, and the filmmakers credit, because this, like The Conjuring, was a very good horror film that I really enjoyed. I've enjoyed both of them this summer. So anyway guys, You're Next is kind of a home invasion horror/thriller movie. Home invasion has kind of spurred up its own like genre. We've had a couple of home invasion movies recently. One of them, one of my favorites, probably my favorite, is The Strangers. I really, really enjoyed The Strangers. I just picked this up on Blu-ray the other day to get ready for Your Next, and I love The Strangers. We also recently had, which I did not see, The Purge, and now we have Your Next. And Home Invasion, this is a home invasion movie, so it's kind of like the other home invasion movies. You have these killers that are attacking you, and you're inside your house. That's the basic premise. But anyway, in this movie, you have two parents, the wife and the husband. They go to their pretty big house, like in the middle of nowhere. They're like rich, you know, they're loaded, okay? And they have 4 children. 3 boys, 1 daughter, and their children bring all of their spouses slash boyfriends slash girlfriends to this house for this pretty big dinner party. The family's all going to get together, and all of a sudden, as the family's enjoying themselves during this dinner party, these 3 masked killers begin to attack the family members in this house. They begin to pick them off one by one, as all these family members must try to find a way to defend themselves and save their own lives. And that's basically what's going on in You're Next. Now, to anyone watching this movie, you may think that, oh, this is just a rip-off of The Strangers. It's going to be these 3 guys go to this house, they try to kill everyone inside, and they have no motive whatsoever. Well, that is where You're Next differs from The Strangers. I'm going to compare the two for a bit. You're next, the killers in this movie, they actually have a motive. They're these three masked guys. They have, like, these animal masks on, which I thought were awesome. And one of them is, like, he's like Daryl Dixon, you know. He pulls out a crossbow. He's, like, picking people off with the arrows from his crossbow, you know. And that's what I liked about this movie. The killers actually had a motive that I'm not going to spoil because I'll completely ruin the movie for you guys. So that's all I'm going to say about the plot. But I feel the story was actually very well written. The writers took their time. They worked hard on the story. They added a twist or two in there to make it a very good story. And they made it more interesting by adding a twist or two into the movie. And they gave these killers motives, which I kind of liked. And this horror movie isn't a messy, lazy horror movie with just random kills in it and just sex scenes all over the place just so teenagers can see boobs. No, this is a very well done, well written, well thought out horror film with a lot of cool, mostly intense moments with a few good twists in there. So that's what I liked about You're Next. Anyway, guys, moving on. The next thing I want to talk about is the cast for this movie. And I'm barely going to talk about the cast, okay? As many horror movies come out nowadays, we hardly notice any of the actors in these horror movies. You're Next, I knew absolutely nobody in this movie. I have never even seen any of these people before in any minor roles anywhere. I knew nobody in this movie, so I'm not going to really talk about anyone except for one person who really stood out in the movie. Now, I forget her name. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think her name was, Sharni Vinson. Sharni Vinson plays a girl named Erin. She's essentially the main female character in the movie, and her character was obviously the best character. Her character was such a badass, intelligent, she's this really badass, intelligent chick that knows what she's doing during a home invasion. You got these three killers that are trying to get into this house, and she's like defending herself. You know, she's setting traps all over the place. She's an intelligent character in this movie. I loved her character. She's one of the most memorable, intelligent damsels in distresses, if you know what I mean, in recent horror movie memory, in my opinion. I really enjoyed her character. She was a badass. She gave a good performance. She was the best out of everyone in this movie, and I really liked her in the movie. Sharni Vinson, good job. I've never seen you anywhere, but you still did a good job. Really good performance. She was also very hot in the movie as well, and her accent also did something for me. But anyway, she did a really good job in the movie, and the rest of the characters, guys, are either dumb or they're just underused, and for the most part, and the actors who play these characters, they're either mediocre actors or they're just bad. There's this one guy, he was paining me every single time he said something in the movie. I was like, every single time this guy said something, it pained me to listen to what he was saying. But anyway, guys, cast, not the best part for this movie, except for Sharni Vinson, who did a really good job in the movie with a really memorable character. Anyway, guys, moving on. You're Next is rated R, and I think that's very appropriately rated, actually. You're Next. If you think this is like a creepy, scary movie with, you know, a couple of gory kills that should be rated PG-13, don't think that, because You're Next actually doesn't have too many creepy or scary scenes at all. But the thing about this movie, and I'm going to compare this to this year's Evil Dead, which I did see, this is a really gory, bloody, violent horror movie. It's not one of those really creepy ghost movies, scary movies. It's one of these really creepy, one of these really violent and bloody, disgusting movies. Very much like Evil Dead. Evil Dead is probably one of the new Evil Dead is probably one of the goriest movies I've ever seen in my life. You're Next almost gives Evil Dead a run for its money. It really is bloody and gory and definitely not for kids. The kills in this movie, not for kids in any way. There is also some bad language in the movie, and of course there's sex scenes in the movie as well. Now, moving on with You're Next, guys, I'm already going to give my rating for this movie. I thought this was a very well-done home invasion thriller that I really enjoyed. Good horror movie. I enjoyed it for the most part. I am going to give You're Next, I'm going to go pretty high for the most part with this movie. I'm going to give You're Next an 8 out of 10, which is pretty damn good. Which means 2013 just might be the redemption year for horror after all. So guys, You're Next, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to now quickly talk about the things I liked and get into a few things I did not like about the movie, because I've really been hyping up the movie and talking a lot of good things about it. I do have some problems with the movie I have to get to. But as I said, the good things that I really enjoyed about this movie, I feel that the story was probably one of the best parts. It was so well written. I'm a sucker for twists in horror movies. They did a good job with adding the twists into the movie. There's about 2 of them. One of them blew me away. The other one I saw coming a mile away. So the story was very well written. It was not lazy. It was not sloppy. It was not messy. I give the filmmakers credit for that. I think the movie was well directed. A few parts were a little shaky, but overall was good. Sharni Vinson gave a really good performance. I loved her character. Really good job in the movie. Obviously, one of my favorite parts of this movie is how bloody and gory and violent it is. A part of me loves the scary, creepy horror movies, but then another part of me loves the really bloody and violent and disgusting horror movies like this and Evil Dead, and I love that about this movie. So gory, so bloody, so violent, I love that. The killers in this movie, I loved the killers in this movie. I loved how the costume designers, they made them wear, like, animal masks. Like, this one guy had, like, a sheep mask on. I mean, that was so cool. Michael Myers has his mask. Jason has his hockey mask. These guys have their animalistic masks, which I loved. The costume design was great. All that was really well done. I loved the killers in this movie. The weapons that they were using, like I said, one of them goes all Daryl Dixon with a crossbow. They're using axes and stuff like that, and that's all badass. Moving on, like I said, the twists were excellent. The ending was pretty good. And lastly, another thing that really impressed me with this movie was the score. The score was excellent. A couple scenes in this movie, the score reminded me of a really well done, creepy 80s horror movie. That's how good the score was in this movie. There's this one song in particular, I don't know the name of it, unfortunately. They played it like 3 times. The first time I thought it was eh. The last 2 times they played it, I was like, oh, this really fits this movie. This is so well done. And I got to give the composers props for that. The score was really, really good. I love that about this movie. And yeah, guys, that's basically everything I enjoyed about You're Next. It's a really fun horror movie. A couple of shots also reminded me of some classic shots from some very classic horror films that I really enjoyed. And I love that about You're Next. Now, getting into the problems I have with the movie, guys, I have a few problems. Like I said, the acting is definitely one of the worst parts of the movie. It's either mediocre or kind of bad. In most parts of the movie, it's kind of bad. So not the best acting in the movie. What else? This movie, I was expecting it to be really creepy and scary, kind of like The Conjuring. No, I did not get scared hardly at all in this movie, so that was a downfall. I go to horror movies to get scared. This movie did not scare me. The Conjuring did. This movie was more bloody and gory, which I shouldn't have expected so many scares. Moving on, the movie, I noticed a couple cliches in the movie, also, if the movie does scare you, it's because of cheap jump scares. Jump scares can be good in some movies, kind of like the Paranormal Activity movies. I like jump scares in those. This movie, the jump scares in it, there's this one where this one person touches another person's shoulder, and then they have the music blasting, and then the person gets freaked out. I've seen that done so many freaking times before. I'm getting tired of that. I hate when filmmakers do that, but they did that in the movie. There's cheap jump scares like that. That's the only thing that made me jump, by the way. It was a cheap jump scare. And finally, apart from a few cliches in the movie, one of the twists was very predictable. I saw it coming a mile away, and yeah. So that's about it, guys. Apart from those problems, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a fun time watching it for the most part. I was into the story. It was very well written. And it was really bloody and gory. It's a gore fest, almost as gory as Evil Dead, but not that close to it. But I really enjoyed You're Next, guys. I do recommend you guys see it. I give it an 8 out of 10. Good movie. I would say see it, if you don't want to see it at full price, maybe a matinee or maybe Cheap Tuesday, cheap movie night. But I would say go see it, guys. It's actually a good horror movie. It's one of the better horror movies I've seen recently, and I love that about You're Next. It's a buy on Blu-ray for me in the future, not right away, though. It was good, though. It really was. So, guys, if you saw You're Next, let me know down below in the comments. What did you think of You're Next? Was it a good horror movie? Was it bad? Was it crappy? What did you guys think of it? And also, what do you like better, The Strangers or You're Next? I would probably go with The Strangers. I really enjoy this movie. So, anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye, guys.